Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wild Woman. This is an episode where I share, as opposed to interview a guest. And today, a topic that has been on my mind in the last week or two. And it was sort of brought to the surface to me, really, where Wild Woman has I've connected with is on that wildish, instinctive, unpredictable, messy, chaotic, angry, upset, all of that, the messiness of what it is to be human and to be a wild woman. If you think of the wolf again, that sort of instinctive nature, as opposed to this sort of lovely on the outside, which is fine, a nice image, look good, but to be dying inside. And I talked about that in my book, Gifts from the Devastation, but I didn't fully understand that what was happening, aside from suppressing how I felt, which is a big part of disconnecting from the wild woman nature, I believe, there was also an anger, and I still feel it. It comes up in waves as I clear it, at not really feeling I had permission or knowing what it was when I was very young. And yes, as a child, I have memories at a very young age, but quite quickly how I sort of settled into, okay, this is what it is to be a girl, to be a teenage woman, a lady, whatever in life, and always felt there was something wrong with me. And it's a part of the wild woman nature, the feminine nature that I really want to explore as well, and how sort of excavating and looking at our shadows, our wounds, our traumas, we turn that into something beautiful that becomes a gift. And that's talked about. I don't know if anyone has ever come across The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, which is another, I suppose, way of understanding your nature, your life, your purpose, your psyche, your journey, what you're here to do. It's a very unique, I think, and quite simple and straightforward, but very deep way of coming to understand yourself. So that's just something I'm starting to explore. For anyone who's listening, it might be interested. You can look up his work and his books, and you can actually download a free profile. And it seems to be sort of a combination of astrology, human design, which is another way. So these are all ways of just and systems of helping you understand. This is how I see it. Understand your nature and who you are. So obviously that's very unique to each of us. But for women, sort of the backdrop to all of that is, I don't believe any of that is possible unless you're living and embracing and expressing your full wild woman nature, no matter how that looks like. And I think that's very much where this sort of patriarchal system over thousands and thousands of years was designed to suppress this powerful, creative, unstoppable life force that is creation. It is the feminine force. Again, I don't necessarily always have the language yet to express all of this. And this is why I love interviewing and learning from different women who have been on this journey for longer than me. But what I do know, and why I started the podcast as well, is that it's become very alive in me recently. And as I try to make to make sense of this hugely powerful creative force that is connected and is part of the elements, and everything else that exists is sort of so alive in me now that I really want to understand this beautiful gift and use it and do And I think that's another side of the wild woman is, doing this work. It isn't, as I said, just about this beautiful, or tidy or neat or contained image. That is not wild woman, and that is not the divine feminine nature as I understand it and feel it and experience it in me. It's wild, it's flowing, it's joyful, it's angry, it's stormy, it's everything. And it's the masculine energy that is within us, and it obviously also is within men, as is the feminine energy. So within ourselves, this is where I'm also doing some work, or starting to understand that in embracing my wild woman, divine feminine nature, I also need to bring into balance my divine masculine, and not a sort of toxic masculine energy, which I would have lived from, which was very forceful and always felt like I was going uphill and extremely stressed and living on adrenaline. This is the sort of the container, the structure, the foundation, the protection, the safety, the security for the divine woman to find her flow, knowing that it is safe to do so. And for each woman, I believe we have to find that balance within ourselves. No one else can do it. And obviously, then in a beautifully aligned romantic relationship, that is also the same. And yes, that at times maybe we will need to call more on our divine masculine if the man is more in doing some feminine work. I'm not sure how all of that works, but in the relationship, obviously a man in that gender and choosing to embody and be that in this life is going to have that as his backdrop. And that's how a beautifully aligned relationship, I think, can work. And that the woman then can bring that sort of intuitive softness and nurturing to the male energy. So all of this is, I'm saying all of this, there is no real topic to this particular episode other than a further exploration or sharing of what I'm uncovering and discovering and recovering in myself. And I'm just so enjoying it. I'm so enjoying it. And the biggest insight for me in the last week has been giving myself this permission, or starting to give myself this permission, to go deeper into the shadow, the wounds, the traumas, the hurts, the pain, the anger, all of that, because I know that when I'm not doing that, I'm shutting myself down in ways to avoid it being uncovered or hurt or exposed or being vulnerable. But in doing that, I'm cutting myself down off from the greater universe and collective unconscious, and that God source energy that is what animates and gives me life. So it's really important work, really important work. And I think anyone who would suggest that you can do this just through talk therapy, which is great, or any sort of intellectual discussion, I've tried that. That's all very useful, but it's not, you cannot do this work from the neck up. As I've heard it said, it has to be embodied, it has to be felt, it has to be experienced, it has to be moved through as part of our life force. It's that flow of life force, and it cannot be just the creative or the nice or the joyful. It has to be all. So my message at the end of this short episode is just to embrace the all. This is where the gifts are, to go deep, and obviously with the right support. But even giving yourself permission is the first step. I've started this a few years ago, and I go in cycles and patterns with it when sometimes it can get too much. And there is a cycle to it where we sort of excavate, release, we then have to sort of recharge from that and integrate and level up at a new level of awareness. And then, you know, we go deeper, and it comes naturally. It's all of this happens naturally as life naturally unfolds. But it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And this is how we start to completely embrace Wild Woman. So I encourage you to start and continue and share how you are doing this work, because this is how we free ourselves. This is really how we free ourselves to live very joyful, full, messy, chaotic, angry, exciting, adventurous lives. So thank you for listening today, and I look forward to meeting you on the next episode. Take care.